There's an old expression that I'm really fond of, and it goes, if the only tool you own is a hammer, well, then the world seems to be full of nails. And in short, what it means is, if you don't have any other tools at your disposal, not only will you be unable to solve problems or face new challenges, but perhaps you won't even know that they're there in the first place. So even though in this channel, we mainly focus on DAW-less music making and beautiful, wonderful hardware, I thought maybe this week we could go out of the comfort zone and go back to the DAW and see what it feels like to make music on it after about 2 years of just making music outside of the box. So in this video, I want to share a few pros and cons that I found of making music on the DAW, coming from a DAW-less perspective. If you're already a subscriber, huge welcome back. If this is your first time here, hi, welcome to the Midlife Synthesist. Let's get started. So before we start the video today, I just want to say a huge and heartfelt thank you to everyone who has supported this channel. I can't believe our little group has grown so much in a little over a year, and we're over 10,000 subscribers now. I can't tell you how happy and excited I am for what the future holds. And I want to thank you for every minute you've spent with me, every like you've given, and every comment you've dropped me. With each comment, I feel like I'm getting to know each one of you a little more. So I look forward to continuing our conversations. So diving into the video, to give you a little context, I'm not exactly an illiterate when it comes to DAWs. Like most people, I started off way back with Cakewalk, then GarageBand, then I moved up to Logic Pro. Never really gelled with it, but then I found Ableton. And for a couple of years, Ableton was the hub of my music creation and production process. After using Ableton for a few years, I eventually got tired of it, and boredom led me somewhere else to find my inspiration, and that's where I found the DAW-less world. Well, that was about 2 years ago, so I thought it might be interesting to come back to the DAW with a fresh perspective after everything that hardware has taught me. And maybe my experience here can help you if you're on the fence whether you want to switch up your workflow, either from software to hardware, or vice versa. So I'm going to start off with the bad so we can end on a good note. Loading wheels and crashes. Stability and quick loading of my projects and sounds is something that I've pretty much become accustomed to in the hardware, pretty much expect it nowadays. And having my computer, which is supposed to be very powerful, still get the stutters or audio drops is just jarring to say the least. It may not bug everyone, but it drags me out of my zone when these kinds of things happen. Software issues and compatibility. Being the Apple fanboy and compulsive buyer that I am, I went out and got myself one of these new MacBook Pros with the M1 chip. Now, it seemed like a good idea at the time, but as with any new hardware, I have software compatibility issues up the wazoo. Now, this is extremely frustrating because this is supposed to be a top-of-the-line computer. It really just grinds my gears when for some reason the sound libraries just don't load or aren't found in your hard drive, so you have to install them all over again, repair them all over again, or watch tutorials on how to repair them and how to find your files. And that's just a waste of time and infuriating in some cases when you just want to get started. Well, that happened to me a lot here. Also, Ableton Link for my MPC is not yet compatible with the M1 Max, so I can't even control Ableton with my MPCX, which is a huge bummer. So please, Akai, if you watch this, please don't keep us waiting for long. Screen time. Since I spend quite a bit of time editing videos on YouTube already, the screen is pretty tiring when you go on for long periods of time. Latency. Though it's not always there, but at times you can feel a slight delay between what you're playing with your hands and what you're hearing with your ears. And that just makes the whole thing feel kind of artificial and plasticky. I'm not sure if it's a deal breaker for everyone, but it kind of really kills the flow for me. Now, I've often said that what I miss the most when I'm using a computer to make music is the immediacy of hardware with all its dedicated functions and knobs and buttons. Now, this of course is only partly true because the mouse and keyboard combination can be extremely effective, especially when sequencing and arranging, but the keyboard and mouse do make it feel more like you're working more than feeling that you're having fun. Distractions. Now, I know this is pretty subjective and it comes down to willpower because you could just turn off the Wi-Fi and turn off the notifications and you'd be okay, but I mean, come on, YouTube is right there. Perfect Circuit, right there. Sweetwater, everything's right there. A new synth is just a few clicks away. And I know this might not be a huge problem for everyone, but I have a very short attention span and I'm very easily distracted on my computer. So what I really appreciate about making music on hardware is that it's pretty much the closest thing to meditation that I can achieve. And I have found it a bit harder to do when I'm on the DAW. Finally, one of the things I most struggle with on my DAW is the huge library of sounds. Having unlimited possibilities has the flip side of making it much harder to choose which path to take, and that just makes it the perfect place to suffer from option paralysis. Now, of course, if we're being honest, if you own enough hardware synths, that happens too. But that's the thing, there are few things that kill the vibe for me as much as scrolling down an endless list of presets just waiting for something to stand out. Now that being said, the first really cool thing about using a DAW is the huge library of sounds. Yeah, I know, I just said it was a bad thing, but having basically every sound imaginable at your fingertips can be extremely empowering, even though it is a bit overwhelming. And I know there's always the debate going on whether analog is better than digital and which one sounds better. But the truth is, I find that with the current VSTs available and in a well-mixed track, even the most loyal analog fans are going to have a hard time telling the difference. And for everyone who's not into synths, they don't even care. Another huge point about using the DAW as a music creation device is the portability. And that's because you're taking all of your synths with you. Let's be honest, I'm not taking my Polybrute or my Matriarch on a plane or on a taxi. And even though I love my Deluge and my OP1, in terms of just raw power and capability, there's really no contest. No cables. Enough said. Editing and arranging is just extremely fast and simple to do. So is chopping and slicing samples and tweaking them out to your heart's content. Now, you might not get so many happy accidents as on something like the Octatrack, but the potential to do that is definitely there. Virtually endless effects chains and sound design capabilities. The ability to just make huge effects chains without having to worry about having the right pedal and having enough cable to hook them up or having enough power outlets. That is a big plus. And finally, one of the biggest pros that I can think of creating music on a DAW like Ableton is the ability to manipulate MIDI however you can possibly think of. Because thanks to that, I've made melodies and drums with rhythms that I just could have never come up with on my own and never ever have been able to manually play in. So it does become a vehicle for a nice experimentation of different things that you might not think of in a more organic environment. So with all that being said, will I remain DAWless or am I coming back to Ableton? Well, yes and no. See, for a few months now, I've been going for a hybrid workflow. So for all that is inspiration, sound design, and just general creative music making, I grab my hardware synths. However, when I really want to finish and polish a song, the DAW still reigns supreme for me. That raw power, the flexibility, control, and just limitless possibilities, those are the things that I need to grab a great musical idea I made on hardware and turn it into a fully fledged song. So if you're still watching this video, thank you so much for making it this far. Just remember, it doesn't really matter if you're on the digital or the analog team or the DAW versus DAWless team. All of these things are just tools, and what really matters is you. So find what works and what you enjoy most, and do that. I hope you found this video useful, or at least entertaining. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time.